Hello, I'm John. Thanks for joining me again. Today we are going to continue where we left off yesterday after the intro video to Archimatix. Today we would like to look at a little bit more about modeling, examine the graph editor or node editor, and learn how to export your model to Maya. So let's get right back into Unity. And I still have my empty scene open here, but as you see, I have already imported my Archimatix and my export to Maya assets, which we discussed in the intro video. So if you haven't seen that, please make sure to see that. I have also created a materials folder where I created a simple black metal, but that's not necessary for you to follow along. Let's start today by using a lighthouse model which is found in the Archimatix 3D library. If you don't know how to open that, click on Window, Archimatix, and Library. I have mine docked down next to my console, but you can certainly undock it or dock it wherever you prefer. So this is what the lighthouse model looks like. It's composed of a base platform, a tower, and a staircase. How does this look in terms of the nodes? Go to Window, Archimatix, and open the graph editor. You can dock yours or have it floating in the screen. I'm going to dock mine next to the game window. And the first thing you see is the grouper. It's a group object which holds everything that creates this complex object. Double click on inputs and that will open up the inside of the grouper, and you can see all the nodes that it is composed of. So let's take a look at what they are. In this section, these white items, they are materials, and the purple ones are shapes, and then the green one would be the composite object. So in this section we are dealing with the staircase. So if I click on the green object, you can see, oops, I dragged on something I wasn't supposed to. So you can see that the staircase object is selected, and I can see it's composed of two shapes. One is the staircase. You can see the staircase profile in purple, and the other one is the arch shape profile, which gets subtracted from the staircase, and you end up having the merged shape to give you the profile of the stairs with the arch underneath. And then that shape gets extruded sideways to give you the width of the stairs, and then you apply some materials to it. Here's one material, top cap material, and here is the base material. And the same applies for all the aspects of this object. So over here we have the tower. The tower, this green object is the composite object, and we can see it's composed of a cross shape which gets lathed or turned. It's composed of a circle shape, that's the base. If I drag on this handle, I can make the tower narrower or wider. And this is the composite shape of the base of the tower. Oops, I'm zooming around too much. And over here is the material that is applied to that shape, that composite object. And then we also have a grouper, which is just like this grouper that we are in. It's a nested grouper. So this grouper, if we go into that, defines the top of the tower. And that, as you can see, is also made up of various shapes, which are either lathed or extruded, and materials that are applied to them. And so at the top of the node or graph window, you can see the path. So if we go into the grouper of the tower and you want to go out of it, you just click on the lighthouse base and you're back into the base part of the complex object. Let's look at how materials work in Archimatix now. I reloaded the scene because I had an interruption, but we are basically back with the lighthouse. If you click on the object and click on it one more time, then you will be getting to the root of it. Basically, if you need to select the root of an object, you have to click it a second time. On the right side here, we see that it has a material called brick wall applied to it. I'm going to select a different material. Let's select the sci-fi material this time. And you can see this material has been applied to the entire object. I will show you how you can override the material for specific parts of the object, but for now, let's adjust the material that's on the object. So, I don't like how closely this is styled. Under the inspector, you will see that the scale, U scale and V scale are 1.87. I can drag to change the scale of it, and perhaps maybe this is something better. Maybe I will give it a value of 2.5. And then you can also shift in the U or V direction. So if you want to adjust, like maybe I want 2 of these dark stripes around here. Now to me it doesn't really matter so much because I'm gonna redo my materials in Maya anyway. But at least you can see how you can adjust some parameters so that you can color your objects in Unity. The staircase, I also want a different material for that, so perhaps I will give it a corrugated metal. Okay, and say I'm not happy with the metal running in this direction, so I'm gonna uncheck the rotate sides texture to adjust the correct orientation of that texture. Alright, I can also adjust the scaling, so perhaps I want unified scaling and give it a value of something like 4. See, this was running vertically, and uncheck rotate size texture will be running horizontally. And I can also shift the texture if I want, but it doesn't really matter because it's so repetitive. So now my stairs has a material which overrides the general material for the entire composite object. And of course you can do the same with your tower, for example. Right now you see the material says nothing. It has nothing. Let's give it something like a medieval wall stone or whatever you want. We'll give it some brick texture if you like. But the idea is that you can change the material on sub-objects. They can be a different color than your base object, and it should be that way, of course. Also, you can create your own materials. So for example, for this railing, I created a material called black metal, which is just a very simple material. And I guess I didn't select the correct material slot. Here it is. So now my railing has that black metal material. You can adjust the shape's properties. For example, this railing looks quite fat to me, so I have to find the shape that is creating it, and I want it maybe half that thickness, and then the poles that come up to it are also quite large, so I will reduce the radius of the circle that makes up that shape, and it's uniformly applied. So you can see how you can adjust your models in Unity without ever having to go to a 3D modeling package. But if you want to have greater control over individual parts of the model, then you will have to export the model to Maya or 3D Studio Max or another such package where you can do the modeling that you need. I see here there's one problem. We have a gap in the fence or railing at 2 places, and that's fine, but not where the staircase ends. So we're gonna have to fix that. So let's take a look at the model. If you go into the node editor and let's isolate this part, which is the platform or the composite shape that makes up the base. Let's find the parts that cause that to happen. So it's made up of a H shape to give it a base footprint plus the circle shape which gets added to it, but there must be a shape that gets subtracted from it, and that would be under the railing. So I'm gonna go into the inputs for the railing, and it has these two shapes, these one here and one here, which are subtracted from the railing shape. So let's grab one of those shapes. This one is causing a gap where there doesn't need to be a gap, so I'm just gonna pull it away. I could delete the shape, but I'll just pull it away where it's not subtracting anything. And for the other shape, I'm gonna pull it to where the stairs end, so that we can give it a gap over there, and the railing conforms automatically. Let's move it more precisely. You can scale these up if you want it wider or narrower too, so you can make it wider if you want a larger gap. But this is good enough for me. It's just to illustrate the point. And you can see the railing nicely conforms to where the stairs end. And that's exactly what we want. Okay then, so now let's take our model out to Maya. So I have a plugin called Export to Maya. First thing, I have to create a stamp of my model, because currently it's a parametric model. And my stamp is here, and that is now a polygonal model. So I can delete the parametric model, I won't need it anymore, and I will select my stamped model, the polygonal model, and go to Window, Export to Maya. Now you can select your Maya version. The latest one is 2016. I use 2018 and it works just fine. Make sure your units match. I use meters, so I select meters, and that's all. You just select Export Selection. And it already goes to my Maya folder because I have already exported some things before. So I have a project called Imported from Unity, and I will save it in my scenes as Lighthouse. It saves it as a .ma file, which is native ASCII file of Maya. And it's just about done. Okay, great. Now let's go to Maya and see what it looks like. I have Maya open already, so I will open up the scene. It's right here, and there is my model in Maya. You can turn on edges if you want to see the polys, and now you can already start editing it on a vertex level or whatever level that you like. Also, I'd like to mention that in the Maya folder, it created these items. So it put the material for the brick wall, because that's used on the model. It has the normals for it. It has the Maya scene, the sci-fi material which we use for the base, and the corrugated metal that we used on the stairs. So those materials are already saved in the same folder as your Maya scene. You might want to move them to your source images folder for better organization. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.